Here's a puzzle. Why are the media and the left treating former FBI Director Andrew McCabe as both a hero and a victim? After all, it was McCabe who was fired on the recommendation of the Bureau's Office of Professional Responsibility, an unprecedented move, particularly at that level. Lawmakers Jim Jordan and Mark Meadows told the Angle last week that McCabe was fired because he lied to investigators 4 times. Let's discuss what's really going on here with Republican Congressman John Ratcliffe of Texas and Democratic Congressman John Garamendi of California. I served with both in the Congress. I think highly of both of them, and I appreciate you gentlemen for coming here and wearing your duly noted blue ties. So thank you. Very, very, very appropriate. Thank you very much.
Hey, Jason,
John, good to be with both of you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, you got yourself a good gig here, Jason.
It is.
Miss you back
it is. If I don't screw up this interview, yeah, that would be great. Listen, I want to play a video. This is from Director Comey in his own words, and I want you to react to it.
I think reasonable people can disagree about whether I should have announced it and how I should have done it. What's not fair is any implication that the Bureau acted in any way other than independently, competently, and honestly here. That's just not true. I knew this was going to be controversial. I knew there'd be all kinds of rocks thrown. But this organization and the people who did this are honest, independent people. We do not carry water for one side or the other. That's hard for people to see because so much of our country, we see things through sides. We are not on anybody's side. This was done exactly the way you would want it to be done.
So let's go with John Ratcliffe first. Was this done exactly as the way it should have been done?
Well, I think that's why so many of us are asking for Jim Comey eventually to come back and clarify some of that testimony that he gave under oath to you and me, Jason, where he talked about these things. Very clearly, when he made those statements, we need to know whether or not he was aware that Andrew McCabe had allegedly lied multiple times under oath to FBI investigators. We need to know whether he knew that Peter Strzok and Lisa Page were not acting independently, but were exercising extraordinary bias towards President Trump in connection with their official activities. So these are the reasons that we have congressional investigations and illicit testimony from folks like Jim Comey. And I look forward to the day that he comes back and we have an opportunity to clarify with him under oath those types of statements.
Now, Congressman Garamendi, you're a Democrat from California. Do you think John Ratcliffe and the Republicans have a point here? I mean, is this investigation really gone exactly the way it was supposed to be done by the book?
Well, first of all, the investigation about McCabe isn't over. We don't have all of the information from the Inspector General. That's forthcoming. When that comes out, we'll see more about exactly what happened. McCabe has a completely different version than does the, in this case, the Attorney General who did the firing. In any case, what we need to do is to very carefully study what's going on here. But one point gets lost in all of this, and that is that the FBI actually, in its investigations of the Clinton emails and in the last 10 days of the campaign, did extraordinary damage to the Clinton campaign. And it's really, I think, impossible to say that the FBI somehow was helping Trump when, in fact, the FBI's investigations into the emails, into the Clinton Foundation, and the statement 10 days before the election was extraordinarily harmful, however you want to look at
the rest of the story. I think you make a good point, because I think both sides, and that's why it's mystifying to a lot of us that the Democrats are trying to create Mr. McCabe as a victim here. Yeah. Do you support the Republicans' call to give all of the files? I mean, they're under subpoena by Bob Goodlatte. I issued a subpoena. They've never given this, and it's a closed case. So why not give all the paperwork so congressional investigators on both sides of the aisle can look at all this information?
That would be appropriate. Certainly Congress has an oversight role, and certainly you did a lot of that during your tenure as oversight chairman. But with regard to McCabe and in his defense funds are common. Many members of Congress went under investigation.
I don't blame him for going out and raising money. What's interesting here is Republicans are calling for a full investigation and all the paperwork, and Democrats are seeming to resist that. Now, I want to play another clip of Congressman Ratcliffe actually questioning Director Comey.
Did you make the decision not to recommend criminal charges relating to classified information before or after Hillary Clinton was interviewed by the FBI on July the 2nd?
After.
To me, the only way that an interview takes place with the two central witnesses and the subject of the investigation is if the decision has already been made that all three people in that room are not going to be charged.
Congressman Garamendi, I'm going to go back to you again. What are your thoughts? I mean, John Ratcliffe is making a pretty good point, wasn't he?
Well, he also has a lot more information than I do. I was not in that hearing, and I certainly don't know how the FBI would conduct its investigations or make a decision to either charge or not to charge. That is a subject of investigation going forward, certainly the subject of the Inspector General's report, which, as I said earlier, has not been fully released. It's supposed to be coming out very soon. And the hearings were conducted. If there's additional information that needs to or should be made available, fine, continue the hearings. As I said a moment ago, oversight's very important. But I do want to make one comment about oversight, and that is it should never be a partisan operation. It should be a bipartisan operation. Go to the facts and try at every point to avoid partisanship. Unfortunately, that has not been the case.
Well, let me go to John Ratcliffe here and get your take on it. It's been a long time since you questioned Director Comey. What you've learned, you've looked at, you've been able to read the underlying documents. What in your mind has changed since then?
Well, at the time he gave that testimony, and you were in the room, Jason, you and I were not aware that he had actually written an exoneration statement for Hillary Clinton 2 months before her interview. So, you know, we need to get answers to that. We need to get answers to questions that he gave for other testimony under oath where, as you know, he testified to Congress that the Steele dossier was unverified, but he verified it and attested that to the FISA court. We need the answers to that. We need to, again, know whether or not Jim Comey knew what Andrew McCabe was allegedly doing and lying under oath, as has been alleged, or what Lisa Page and Peter Strzok were doing. All of these are specific questions that we need clarification from that we didn't have at the time that he gave that original testimony.
Now, Congressman Ratcliffe, do you agree with the appointment of Mr. Huber, the U.S. Attorney for the state of in Utah? Did he do that right, or was this the wrong move as well?
Well, I've heard you know, people give a lot of opinions on this. That's not the decision that I would have made. I would have, frankly, done it the other way around. I think a U.S. attorney would have been appropriate to investigate whether or not there was coordination or collusion between the Trump campaign and the Russians. But I think with respect to an investigation into the actions of the FBI and the Department of Justice, that's essentially an internal investigation. And so I don't think the U.S. attorney is the appropriate person to be investigating that. This is the extraordinary circumstance that would justify a special counsel, and I think that eventually that there needs to be one.
All right, I need to quickly get both of your action. The president's tweets tonight and about his actions on DACA. Congressman Garamendi, what are your thoughts?
Sure. I'm not sure about tweets tonight. I do know about the tweets that occurred Sunday morning coming out of church on Easter morning and basically trashing maybe 1,500,000 young men and women that came here as children, not of their own volition, but parents brought them here, and in serious jeopardy now if the president has his way. Fortunately,
but the president is blaming Democrats. You're a Democrat. Is that fault on you?
Well, let's take a look at the facts. The Democrats, I know Senator Schumer offered $25 billion for border security, including fences and walls where appropriate, and also in exchange for the full DACA program going into effect.
Let me get John. I got to go. Sorry, the time's short.
Unfortunately, the Republicans added to that some programs that were simply not acceptable. And it didn't pass.
John Ratcliffe.
Well, Jason, as you know, the politics of the DACA program have been dishonest from day one. Democrats took the position that it was appropriate and constitutional for President Obama to take that executive action because they said if Congress fails to act, the president is authorized to do so. But when President Trump took the exact same executive action to undo the DACA program, many Democrats have cried foul. So whether the Democrats killed it or whether President Trump kills it, the DACA program needs to end. that's a distinction from DACA recipients. Republicans, Donald Trump has offered a solution for DACA recipients. Senator Grassley offered an amendment to provide status for DACA recipients in exchange for reasonable border security measures back in February. And 46 of 49 Democrats voted against that.
Yeah,
so,
I just don't know that the Democrats know how to say yes to this. Listen, gentlemen, it was an honor and a privilege to serve with you in the Congress. I thank you both for taking time on this beautiful Monday night to join us, so thank you.